Welcome to Satsang. So beautiful to be together. Let's take just a moment and allow our eyes to close. And just allow your awareness to pull inward. Allow that focus, the attention and the intention to pull from being stuck in the world around us to being free in the world inside. There's always so much in the outer world to distract us. So many sounds, so many sights, so many sensations. And so many thoughts jumping around in our head. Memories of yesterday. Anxiety about tomorrow. But take just a moment and allow yourself to unhook from all of that. Just take the awareness and unhook it from that. And allow it to drop deeply into the self. And allow that awareness to expand in the self. If the mind wanders, just bring it back. Bring it back to the depths of the world within. Allow that awareness to merge with the breath as it flows in and flows out. as the mind wanders, if it does, just bring it back. Gently and lovingly. Just bring it back to the breath. Don't yell at it, don't fight it. Just gently bring the awareness back. And allow it to just keep dropping deeper and deeper. Slowly and gently, bring the palms of your hands together at chest level and rub them gently against each other. Press the palms of your hands gently into your closed eyes. Slowly and gently open the eyes and lower the hands. Starting as usual. Vinod, भैया, ये sound नहीं आ रही. Starting as usual with a question that's come in advance. We'll then open it as usual, as always, to any questions that anyone here might have. How can I serve the greater good? There's so many ways, so many layers, so many levels of serving. People to be fed, trees to be planted, schools to be built, kids to be educated, sick people to be treated. There's so much to be done. And yet, if we go at it like that, we end up incredibly frustrated and not actually that effective. Because then we're constantly running from thing to thing. Instead, the way to really serve is on two levels. Number one, to show up as your truest, highest, fullest self. Most of us, as we move through the world in an identity. right? We act in certain ways around people. We don't really show our full self. We move as an object. A certain size, a certain shape, a certain color, a certain race, a certain religion, certain gender, certain career, certain bank account. And as we objectify ourselves, we see the world as objects. Sizes, shapes, colors, careers, bank accounts. Everyone becomes an object. Someone either who I can use, someone who can benefit my path, a potential partner, a potential friend, someone I'm going to be able to get ahead with, potential sexual partner, someone I can get some sensual pleasure from, or as some kind of a hindrance, a burden, an obstacle. Someone I need to remove from my path, someone who is blocking me in some way from getting what I want. We see ourselves as objects, and then we see others as objects. And it's how we move through the world. And the tragedy of that is A, we never experience the truth of who we really are. And B, we're not actually able to connect with others in any kind of meaningful way. One of the greatest gifts you can give to the world, forget a gift to yourself, but just even if you're only thinking about a gift to the world, is to show up from your place of soul. When you sit and you stand and you show up as soul, it creates a space for other people to come into. If I walk into a place as an object, okay, I am the boss, or I am the scared one, or I am this, I'm in charge, or I'm this, I'm that. If I walk in full of my story, my identity, my self-objectification, I'm throwing you into your objectification. If you think about times when we are in situations where people walk in with very strong identities, teacher, student, boss, employee, the more someone plays their role, embodies and inhabits their role, the more we get stuck into our role, right? Someone's going to play the boss, you play the employee. Someone plays the helpless employee, you play the boss. We step into roles. And we miss the opportunity to actually experience who we are without the role. Now, that doesn't mean that we dismantle our systems of functioning. It doesn't mean we don't have teachers and students and bosses and employees and policemen and firemen and, all of the different roles that people play. We have them. It's fine. But if you, as you are playing your role, can simultaneously be deeply aware of the one playing the role, then you invite others to also be aware of themselves playing the role. So for example, let's say we decide to do a play, a drama, right? Parmarth drama, okay? And we're gonna open a drama wing, and we decide we're gonna put on, a Shakespeare play. Okay? We all get given roles, and somebody gets our costumes, and big performance. Now, I may be in the costume of the role I'm playing, and others are in the costumes of the role they're playing, and we get onto stage and we do it beautifully. And yet, every once in a while, even on stage, even in the midst of playing our role, you catch each other's eye for just a second. Something that the audience would never notice, just a second. And there's just a flicker of like, Preeti, I see you in that Othello costume. Like, I know that's you. Just a second. That you know the actor. Yeah, your role is responding to their role. Here we are doing the play. But there's also this very subtle sense of, yeah, I see you in there. Isn't this fun? We're playing Othello. And the moment we get off the stage, even if we have to stay in our costumes for the next act, or if we're doing, a kind of meet and greet after the play, so we stay in our costumes, well, we go back to who we are. Because we know I am the actor, not the role. I've got this costume on, I'm saying these lines, but I never actually forget and think I am that person. Right? You never ever hear stories of somebody who plays the role of a murderer in some movie or play and actually goes home and kills his family because he forgot. Even professional actors, award-winning actors, the minute cut, they know. And even if before cut, even in the middle of a performance, if their family had come to the play, sitting in the front row, and suddenly in the middle of an award-winning performance, you hear your family member scream and you think, oh my God, something's wrong. Well, is the actor going to stay in the role? Of course not. He's going to jump off the stage and see what happened to his wife or kid or her husband. So even when we're in the midst of playing the role, we remember who we are as the actor or the actress. And in life, as we play these roles, as we voluntarily decide, all right, I'll be the mother this time around, or I'll be the daughter this time around, or okay, I'll be the doctor this time around, or the teacher, or I'll play the homeless person. I'll play the injured one who you're going to operate on. We play different roles. And there's a self who isn't the role. And it's critical for us to remember that and to stay anchored in that in the way an actor remembers, even in the midst of playing the role, remembers who they are. And if you can do that, so that whatever role you are playing in this world as your size, shape, color, gender, race, religion, career, bank account, all of the different, character attributes that we get given. If in the midst of that, you can also remember who you are that isn't the role, and anchor in that as well, in the same way that for a quick second, Preeti and I would just look at each other and kind of smile even as we do our big Shakespearean drama. And you, the audience, might not notice, but we saw it. Just a quick little, yeah, I see you in there. I'm playing my role. I'm doing a good job. You're doing a good job. And yeah. Then we'll have dinner afterwards. If as you move through your life, you can stay anchored in true self and give that twinkle of the eye to as many as you can, wherever you can. The I see you in there. I know that you have this body and you're playing this role, but I see you. It's the greatest gift you can give. To see someone as the truth of who they are is the greatest gift. But in order to be able to do that, you've got to come at it from your place of soul, of truth. And this is why so many spiritual teachers say, your spiritual practice is the greatest gift you can give the world. No, it isn't selfish. No, meditation is not selfish. No, yoga is not selfish. No, taking time for your spiritual practice is not selfish. Because it is that that enables you to really give your full gift to the world, which is more than just the role you play. Yes, a fireman, great. Put out fires, save our forests, save people from burning homes, get cats out of trees. Like, it's a great thing. In the role, you're still doing a great job. But if you could also, along with that, know who you are and stay anchored in that soul spirit that's playing the role of the one putting out the fires, it's not that you stop being a fireman. It's that you start to realize who else you are and give other people that opportunity to realize who they are in your presence. And then you also have this very beautiful opportunity to just say to God, use me in whatever way. Okay, from this hour to that hour, I play the role of fireman. But all the rest of the time, and even in the midst of my fireman job, use me. Every minute and every moment, use me, please. Use me as an instrument. Use me as a vehicle. Use me as a vessel. Use me as one to serve others. And we have no idea what that service is going to look like, because we have no idea what the need is going to be in the present moment. We can't predict who's going to trip and fall in front of us and need a hand up. You can't predict who you're going to bump into, who's going to need what disaster is going to happen, who you're going to pass by on the side of the road. We don't know. So we stay open with just a prayer. Oh God, use me. And I'll tell you one last piece about this. The greatest impediment to you being able to be an instrument in God's hands or one of the greatest impediments, not the greatest is probably our own ego and our fear, but an additional great impediment is being stressed and rushed. The simple thing of just being rushed, just being stressed, is actually enough to render us much less effective tools. They did a great study. There's a very, very famous study in psychology about the Good Samaritan, where they do a study of students who are in a seminary, who are actually training to be priests, like people who are dedicating their lives to God, to sharing God, to teaching God, to being one with God. And the students are in the seminary and they've just learned about the Good Samaritan. And then, because it's a study, it's of course being controlled by experimenters, what they do is they create a situation where these students, after learning about the Good Samaritan in class, have to walk down a street in order to get to their next class, or wherever they were going from that one class. So they've all got to walk across a street. And the experimenters put a person playing the role of somebody lying on the ground. You don't know, is he hurt, is he drunk, is he dead, is he asleep? We don't know. But lying on the ground, clearly in some kind of trouble, to see what are the circumstances under which students who are dedicating their lives to God, who have just heard the story of the Good Samaritan, have just studied about the one who's helping and giving and caretaking, in what circumstances are they more likely to stop and help this person? And in what situations are they less likely? And what they found is that the single factor of telling the students, oh my God, you're late. This clock is wrong. You don't actually have 10 minutes to get across campus. You've actually only got 3 minutes to get across campus. That simple thing makes students who are dedicated to God, who have just studied the Good Samaritan, you'd think like the most primed people to help another being, simply being told they are late renders most of them unlikely to stop and help somebody. It's enough to take people and make them literally walk over somebody lying on the ground right at their feet, simply because they're in a rush. And so it's a great lesson if you really want to be of service in the world. Yes, of course, first we have to work with our egos. But that's kind of a long process. It's an in-depth, ongoing process. A very, very simple way, every moment, to make sure that you are going to be much more likely to see the opportunities that the universe presents to you to be of assistance is by stopping rushing, by not being in such a hurry, by slowing down. We say, oh God, give me the opportunity to serve, like these students. But then we literally rush by somebody lying on the ground at our feet because we are rushed. So to whatever extent you can, slow down. You're going to hear and see and receive many more of the opportunities to be of service. Other questions? Yes.
Hello, thank you very much for the word. I would like to ask you, how do I find the purpose of my life?
it's really important to realize that we don't have just one purpose of our life. This myth, this idea that we only have one purpose, one dharma, is actually a really great tragedy, because then we let so much else go. You know, you take somebody whose dharma was clear. Take somebody like Martin Luther King. Take somebody like Gandhi. Take someone who it's really clear, okay, this was very obviously their purpose. Gandhiji was going to bring India freedom in a non-violent way. Martin Luther King was going to transform the civil rights movement. And yet, each of them was a husband, was a father. Martin Luther King was a reverend. He had a community. Gandhiji had been a lawyer. Even in cases where it's so clear that they've got one major, monumental purpose, the sort of once-in-a-century type of clear, single-pointed focus, they still had a lot of other dharmas. They both still had their dharma as husbands, as fathers, as sons, as brothers, as a reverend, as a barrister, as in so many different roles that they've played in their life that we don't necessarily know about, because we know only about that one major thing they did. And so don't make the mistake of thinking that you've got just one purpose in life and you're meant to just sit around and kind of do nothing until you find it. Your purpose may be something very, very specific and tangible, like in the case of Gandhiji or the case of Martin Luther King, or the case of someone like Florence Nightingale, or the case of, we've got people who clearly are just like, okay, this is clearly what I'm here for. But most of us have in our lives a lot of things that are deeply meaningful. A lot of ways that we respond to the world with duty, with dharma. And it's important to realize that that's much more the norm than one single purpose. If you're waiting on one purpose, you're going to miss everything else. And there may not be one single purpose. Your purpose may have been to be open to every opportunity that the universe gave you, to bring your gifts to the universe. And since each of us has different gifts, we're going to bring those in different ways. My favorite example about this is, think about a guy who spends his life hammering rocks on the side of a road. Okay, you drive through the Indian mountainous roads and you'll see people on the side of the road, poor people, and they're hammering rocks. Big rocks into medium rocks into small rocks, so that ultimately they can become the gravel in the asphalt that will get laid out on the road. Now, is that man's purpose to be a rock hammerer? Like, is that the highest goal that this guy came onto earth for? That the universe put all this energy into the creation of this being just so rocks can be hammered? Of course not. But then let's say that this guy works a double shift, works past when he no longer has to. when he could retire. Because he doesn't want his daughter begging in the road and all of the other girls in their slum area begging the road. Because the money that he makes as just a normal rock hammer isn't enough to support the family. So this guy decides he's going to work double shifts so his daughter can go to school instead of begging. Now, chances are he did not think, my dharma is to start a revolution in gender equality. All this guy thought is, I don't want my daughter begging on the side of the road. My daughter's going to go to school. And he's not thinking necessarily about how now every other girl in the slum is going to say to her parents, I want to go to school. Why can't I go to school? And he's going to be known as the man who started a revolution of girls going to school in their slum area. Chances are he'll die before that happens. Because you live a life like that, your life expectancy is not very long. Neither did he know that that was his purpose when he was doing it, nor did he live long enough to even have the awareness of, oh yeah, this was my purpose. All he knew was, I'm doing what I need to do so my daughter doesn't beg in the road. And I share that example all the time because it's the best example I can think of the way that you could have a very powerful, clear dharma without actually ever knowing it. And without actually ever waiting for it to land in your lap and sort of embark on it as though you knew it were your life's purpose. It's huge. And all he did was make himself open to the voice in his head that said, yeah, I know the other girls beg, but not mine. Not my angel. She's not going to beg in the road. She's going to go to school. That's all he had to do, was be open to that. And so all of us have to simply open ourselves. Our purpose, every one of us, our purpose is to be an instrument, a vehicle, a vessel in the hands of the divine. What's God gonna need, when, where? How are we supposed to know? How do you know that? In India, the 1940s, they needed independence. The world, coming out of a huge world war, needed to see the power of nonviolence, needed to see that the atom bomb dropped a few years earlier was not the way of the future, was not the only way to end a conflict. He stepped up. He filled the role. What the world needs when it needs it, we don't necessarily know. Which is why each of our purposes is just to keep ourselves open. And there may be one purpose for you this year and another purpose for you the next year and another purpose the year after that. And you've got a dharma in your different relationships. Don't worry about finding one thing. Because the other great myth that we have is that my career has to be my purpose. That whatever my purpose is, it should also be something lucrative enough that I can do it as a career. And that's also not true. So many of the world's greatest artists never made a penny from it in their lifetime. But it was clearly their purpose. So many, even unpublished, because being published, of course, does not mean that that's the universe saying, oh yeah, this is your purpose. Your purpose may be a poet. And you may never publish a book of poetry as long as you live. But in order to put food on the table, you've got to wait tables. Or be a filing clerk in an office. That's okay. Nothing wrong with it. At all. If it enables you to write poetry on the evenings and the mornings and the weekends. So don't think that your career is going to have to be your purpose. Or that it has to be lucrative or something that you make money at all. Your internal purpose, I mean, all of us, is to know who we are, to show up in the universe with love, with truth, every minute, every moment. And then what the purpose of us in that moment is, will manifest. And aside from that, in terms of careers, hobbies, paths you follow, tune into your heart. Tune into the frequency of your heart. What vibrates you at the right frequency in the right way? That pulls you knowing, ah yeah, ah yeah, ah yeah. And you move in that direction. But don't sit home waiting for your purpose to land in your lap. Other questions? Yes.
Thank you.
Hello.
My question is, how to make peace with your past and move ahead?
How to make peace with your past and
Move ahead.
move forward.
Move forward.
How do we make peace with our past and move forward? So the mind, the intellectual mind, unfortunately, is not able to get into the very depths of our psyche. It's not able to get into the depths of our spirit. But it can be a very, very great ally in getting us a huge part of the way there. Because as long as the mind says something can be changed, I'm never going to make peace with it. As long as the mind thinks and continues to tell you, I'm a victim of what happened, the universe owes me. Right? How many of us go through life feeling like that? The universe owes me. That wasn't fair. I got hurt. Now I am owed. Either that person is going to come back and apologize, they're going to make it right, this is going to be fixed, or the universe is somehow going to make it up to me in some other way. Because I'm owed. Wasn't fair what happened. As long as I'm holding on to it like that, I'll never be able to make peace with it. Because I need to hold it. It's like some kind of token I've got that I'm going to cash on my way out, and the universe is going to give me, cash for this token. I've got a token that says abused or abandoned or betrayed or cheated or harmed, and I collect these tokens as though I'm going to cash them in later on for the goodies of the universe. See how I've been hurt, so I deserve more goodies. As long as I think that, I'm never going to be able to make peace with it. And as long as I am identified as the one in that past situation, whether I was a victim of something, a perpetrator of something, or simply a witness of something. Right? 3 roles we play. Victim of it, perpetrator of it, witness of it. Whatever role I may have played in that piece of my past that I'm looking to make peace of, as long as I'm identified as I'm the victim, I was injured, or I'm the perpetrator, I'm a horrible person, I don't deserve anything good because I was the perpetrator, knowingly or unknowingly, of that bad situation. It's my fault. I'm a wrong person. I'm stuck in that role then. Or even as a witness. I watched that happen and I didn't do anything. I could have done something. How could I have just watched? I'm a coward. I'm this. I'm that. Or I'm traumatized from what I saw. All of these are just roles. And as long as I'm stuck in that role, I'm going to be stuck in the past. So I have to be prepared to let go of the role in order to move forward. Am I prepared no longer to play my victim card? To give up whatever goodies I thought I might be getting from the universe? To hand over my chips? Are you prepared to do that? And until and unless you are, you're not going to really be able to move forward. But this is where we need to realize, and where the intellectual mind is so helpful, is it can propel us forward because we can use the mind, the very rational mind, to say, what am I achieving? Okay, I've played the role of victim for this many years. I've played the role of guilty perpetrator for this many years. What has it gotten me? Have I gotten those goodies I thought I was going to get from the universe? Have I gotten any of that? Am I getting what I'm looking for? Or am I just suffering? And use the mind to be really clear and really sharp. Am I achieving? With this stuckness in the role, am I achieving something? And if not, when you realize you're not, that's then when we start to go deeper. But as long as the mind thinks, consciously or unconsciously, that somehow I'm benefiting from this role, somehow I'm benefiting from holding on to the past, it's not going to let you let go of it. So that's where you have to be really clear. I'm only holding myself back. I'm the one who's suffering. Right? They say hatred is drinking poison and expecting the other guy to die. Right? So I'm holding on to anger, to hatred, resentment. It's killing me. But I've got somehow this illusion that if I hold on to it, the other guy's going to suffer. And somehow when the other guy suffers, they're going to come back and help me, take care of me, give me the love that they should have given me the first time around. Never happens like that. All that happens is you drink that poison and you suffer. They hurt you once, or 10 times, or 50 times in that past. And then you continue to hurt it yourself every day by carrying that into the present. They may have been the perpetrator then, but you are the perpetrator now. Because you've carried that pain into the present. And the moment you really realize that, then moving forward actually isn't difficult at all. Once you leave behind the baggage, travel is difficult when you've got too much luggage. If you don't have much luggage, it's not difficult at all. So if you can leave that baggage behind, moving into the present and then the future is quite easy. It's the baggage of the past that holds us back. Right? Just like when you travel normally. Right? Too much stuff and travel's a hassle. One little handbag, travel's a breeze. In life also. Yeah. Beautiful. Yes.
Hi, thank you very much for your words. I would like to come back on one of your words you said before about unstressing, slow down. And then I remember that the school times and the school times of my children, I very clearly saw again the programming of this not being late, how much fear there was involved with that. When I was small, I was stressed out about that. So I tried to ease my kids into that, but still, it's many years, school, study, the same thing. And so what could you tell us as parents or teachers into that, to ease it down, to not make it so strong in the first place, so we don't have to, have burnouts to learn that lesson?
Beautiful. So slowing down doesn't mean being late. I think having a respect for time is really important. It's a great thing to teach children. If I tell somebody I'm going to meet them someplace for a cup of coffee, let's say, and I say I'll meet you at 8, and I don't show up till 9, I've wasted an hour of that person's life. It's essentially saying to that person, I don't value your time nearly as much as I value my time. So it's not considerate, it's not respectful. Being on time is very respectful. It's also in many ways, like in school, or if you want to catch flights or trains or whatever it may be, it's the only way to actually succeed. Take your own time, you're going to miss the flight. The flight doesn't care if you're stressed or not, but it's going to go on time. It's not going to say, oh, she's practicing not hurrying. Okay, no problem, we'll wait for her. The way to not hurry, I have found, is actually, to whatever extent possible, and it's very, very difficult. It's something I, every day, recommit myself to and re-navigate how to do it, is to plan better. Simply to plan better. Here's what I know needs to be done at a certain time. Here's where I know I need to be. Can I start early? Can I leave extra time? I know that walking from here to Ganga for Aarti, let's say, takes me 2.5 minutes. Let's say, I just made that up, but let's say it takes me 2.5 minutes to walk from here to Aarti. And let's say I have to be at Aarti at 5:30 every night. Well, if I walk out at 5:27 and a half, because I'm trying up until the very last minute, and then I've got to rush those 2.5 minutes because, oh my God, I can't be late. That's one way of doing it. But it's a way that makes me rush. I'm too busy to even smile at anybody on my way down, let alone actually stop and talk to anybody, let alone actually enjoy the beauty of where I may be. But if, let's say, I leave at 5:26, right? I'm not saying leave at 4 in the afternoon. Leave a minute earlier. Well, that gives me a whole extra minute to walk down to the banks of Ganga. Now, we all have things like that in our life that we do every day. You know how long it takes. You know how long something's going to take you to accomplish it. You know how long some place is going to take you to get to drive. How far away is the store, the office, the post office, wherever you have to go. When you're planning, instead of cutting everything super, super, super close, if you know the post office is an 18-minute drive away, well, what happens if you leave yourself 20 minutes to get there? You get to go a little more slowly. You get to actually stop on a yellow light instead of speed through it. Little things. But it changes the entire way that you're doing it. And so I think about it much more as a how than a what. Meaning, I don't think we need to change the school system to not have classes start on time, or, make airplanes wait for every last person, even if it inconveniences everybody else sitting on the plane. But I think it's much more of a how for each of us to choose to move through our day as much as possible. And again, it's very challenging, but as much as possible. Can I, for example, use the 10 minutes it's going to take me to walk from home to the office, or office to where I eat lunch, or office to where my car is parked, to actually just walk, rather than use it to catch up on phone calls? Rather than seeing it as a time to fill with things I've got to get done, can I actually just use it as a time to walk? So it becomes a whole different way of living. It's not slow as in I'm actually moving in slow motion through my life, and either I miss the plane or I dedicate the entire day to getting to the airport. It's not that. It's just a different way of priorities, a different planning. If I've got a flight, let's say, at 7 a.m., got to be there at 6, means you have to leave the house at 5:15. Well, one way of doing it is to say, well, it really only takes me like 25 minutes to have a shower and brush my teeth and have some water and put on some clothes. So if I've got to leave at 5:15, I actually could get up at 4:50. Or to say, hey, you know what? If I get up at 4:40, I've got 10 extra minutes to breathe my way through the morning and not rush panic to the airport. And hey, if I get up at 4:30, I can even get a short 10-minute meditation in. Look at that, 20-minute difference. 4:50, I get up, I'm racing out of the house, I'm sweaty, inevitably something got left undone. 4:30, not only do I get to move through my morning slowly and calmly, but I also get 10 minutes of a short meditation. So it's just a priority. What is more important to me, the extra 10 minutes of sleep, or the foundation upon which my entire day is going to go? I'm not saying get up at 3:30 and meditate for an hour when you've got, to leave the house at 5:15 in the morning, unless you can easily get up at 3:30 and be good for the day, no problem. But if not, but 10 minutes here and there never made or broke anybody's feeling of being tired or not tired, or functional or not functional in the day. But 10 minutes of meditation certainly makes a huge difference in how the day feels. So it's about that. It's about, what are my priorities? What's the how of how I live my life, more than just what's the what. I'm still going to take the flight. I've still got to go and have that meeting and do the job, but I'm just going to do it in a slightly different way. Maybe I'll take that 6 a.m. flight or 7 a.m. flight rather than the 8 a.m. flight. Give myself another hour on the other end when I get there so I can stop for a cup of coffee rather than race into the meeting sweaty and panicked and heart, having to pay an extra $50 to valet the car rather than park it 2 blocks away and get a little walk in, right? It's just, they're little things. It's the how of how I make decisions. And that's what has this great impact on us. Beautiful. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evenings. And so much love to you all.